To the outside world, it probably looks like actually things are doing okay. Markets are at or near an all-time high. We will probably do 200 IPOs on the New York Stock Exchange this year. Corporate balance sheets are healthier than they've been maybe ever. Plenty of money. A lot of companies have refinanced, and the economy just grew at nearly 3% in the last reported quarter. To digress for a minute, one can only imagine how good it could get if we actually had a functioning national government, bipartisan leadership, common sense tax policy, and some credible solutions around the debt. If we could get there, I think the economy's ready for an upside surprise. But thank you. Not a political statement, but I couldn't help myself, I'm sorry. But here's the issue. That recovery we just talked about and a lot of the good that's happening, a lot of people missed out on that, right? Retail's been out of the market. The U.S. labor participation rate is the lowest we think it's been in 35 years or so. And even if you look at wages, if you adjust them for inflation, like the median wage is lower than it's been in probably since the late 90s. So this recovery that we can see from a distance and that we can sort of start to put our hands on and find a lot of good sound bites that says it's working, it's actually not working the way we need it to. And that's, to me, what this one of the things that this conference is all about. Excuse me, it's been a long few days. Twitter, which was good. So, what do we want to talk about? We talk all the time about the broadening gap of income inequality. And I agree, it's an important issue, but I want us today to talk about focusing on the cause, not the effect. To me, income inequality is the effect of education inequality. And I think part of what we always talk about with John is how do we take it down into the schools? How do we take literacy, not just financial literacy, and education down into the schools? Because we understand that's where a lot of this separation happens, right? If you get that opportunity, you have a much greater chance to succeed than if you don't get that opportunity. And if you think about what the country's founded on, we are a country that has always said you can have economic mobility. This is not about just a simple redistribution of wealth. It's the way you help people break out of the cycle is by educating them, giving them educational opportunities. And I say quite often when I give these speeches, I have to admit, I'm not objective on this topic. I am a product of what I think makes this country great, right? My father immigrated to the United States at the age of 5 with his mother. No money, no language skills. And you find me another country in the world where 75 to 80 years later, that immigrant's son can stand up in front of you as the CEO of the New York Stock Exchange. It does not exist anywhere else. We take it for granted, and we should not take it for granted, because it's what made the country great. And if we then narrow that focus, you hear me, John, narrow that focus to financial education, right? That's why we love working with Operation Hope, because we have some basic views. And those views were reaffirmed in the crisis. You don't need to go back in history. We just saw, as recently as 2008, how few people, adults, by the way, were armed with the tools that they need to have financial security and financial well-being. But talk is cheap. We're here to talk about the things that we all do. So in the wake of that crisis, we decided to do some things at the NYSE that we thought would take action to fill the void of what we saw was wrong in financial education. So the first thing we did together was we put together a small advisory committee. John was one of the members. And we went to collaborate with other companies who were listed with us and said, we think we just learned in the crisis that more of your workforce than you think is not equipped to make basic financial decisions. We haven't armed them with the right tool set. So we set out, working with many other companies, to build a financial fitness toolkit, and we distributed it to our companies because we thought there were a lot of efforts already focused in the classroom. We wanted to focus on the adults in the hopes that they would then talk about it at home. Because one thing we understood is if you're an adult and you have questions about basic things like mortgages, you are highly unlikely to stand up and lean over the cubicle or talk to the person sitting next to you at your desk and say, I don't understand this, can you help me? It's embarrassing, so people don't do it. So we wanted to put it out there in a way where they could go at it and do it discreetly and teach themselves. And we had a lot of success. And frankly, we tied it to a lot of people's wellness programs. To give you another example of how John treats his friends, we were at a conference together and I said, look, I don't want to sound pithy. This is really simple to me. This is why we have to work so hard on this. Because if you have financial wealth, you have emotional health. So it's financial wealth, emotional health. He goes, I love that. And he immediately branded it. And I didn't trademark it. So if you saw this thing on Operation Hope website going, financial wealth equals emotional health, I'm like, that was me. I just want to be very clear. That was not him. That was me. Now, we've done other things, too, because the NYSE brand that John talked about, it does travel. It is global. We have unbelievable convening power, and people watch the platform. They see what we do. They see what we pull together. So every April, which is Financial Literacy Month, and within that Financial Literacy Week, we do events every day for that week at the New York Stock Exchange. We highlight it. We shout it out. We do meetings. We have events all throughout the year. And the other thing that I love about what we've been able to do is another thing that I really think about is we don't call it corporate social responsibility at our place. We think the C stands for collaborative. Because I think the 21st century, for all of us, will be about collaborating around these great ideas. And what we found pretty quickly when we tackled financial literacy is that there were a bunch of companies already out there trying to do it too. So what we did was we collaborated with them, we pooled our resources, and we said, hey, we know what we bring to the table. We don't bring to the table what a financial advisor brings to the table, or a retail firm, or a bank brings to the table. So we've been able to collaborate, and the richness of the site and the offering over time improved because everybody stopped trying to do it by themselves. So we've also obviously supported Operation Hope, not just through my board membership, but through our foundation. So we do a lot of things. But where do we go from here? You heard Mr. Rogers talk about what I think is a game changer in this entire space. I think Hope Inside is going to have a lot to do not only with the future of Operation Hope, but the future of the country. Like, if you think about what Hope Inside promises to be able to do in areas where we desperately need people to have bank accounts as a start to understand, how to attain financial well-being, I think that is a game changer. It is a win for the financial services industry. It is a win for the target audience. The other thing we focus a lot on that I think the Business in a Box initiative will take us to is we focus a lot at the NYSE, and this may surprise you, on the importance of getting affordable access to capital for small and medium-sized enterprises, for Main Street, if you will. Some banks like SunTrust are doing a great job. Unfortunately, there's not enough still out there. And small businesses are the engine of the country, right? They're the job creators. They're the ones we need to nurture. And I think the Business in a Box initiative, which I know you will hear more about, I think that's the next great opportunity for Operation Hope. And my job is to convince John that if we do Hope Inside really well, and if we do Business in a Box really well, it will change the world. It will change the world. If we try to do too many other things, it's going to get harder to change the world. All right? Now, I want to leave you with one more thought, okay? If you can help me keep him focused, all right, on Hope Inside and Business in a Box, we will achieve a lot more than financial literacy. We want to move. Financial literacy should not be our goal. So while I want to focus him, it's okay to dream big. Financial literacy isn't dreaming big enough. You heard Mr. Rogers talk about financial well-being. Step it up to financial dignity, step it up to financial security, and step it up to where it all started in my mind, financial wealth and emotional health. Thank you very much for having me today. I appreciate it.